We have been discussing various tools to change behaviors in the home. But what happens outside the home? Problems a child may have can occur in school settings and are not behaviors that you see directly. Problems at school usually refer to disruptive behavior such as fighting, teasing, bullying, or interfering with the work of others, not completing assignments at school, not bringing homework assignments home, and getting upset when the child has to make transitions from one activity to another. This is a sample of the common problems that emerge, but of course, these change for individual children and as a function of grade level. For example, for older children, bringing home school assignments, completing these assignments, and then turning them back in at school are more likely to be an obstacle because the number of homework assignments increases with age. This is one of two lessons related to school. In this lesson, the focus is on problem behaviors that occur at school. This focus will involve working with teachers. The second lesson will focus on developing behaviors related to doing well at school, but the school is not directly involved. In that lesson, we will talk about helping your child improve reading skills or other academic skills at home in ways that are fun, but still help with school performance. For today, we are focusing on programs to change behaviors that come up as problems or issues at school. The special intervention we will discuss is called a home-based reinforcement program. Home-based reinforcement programs require participation of you, the teacher, and your child. The program itself incorporates several tools we have discussed in the course, such as shaping, praise, point programs, and positive opposites. Rewatching separate lessons on those may help. So let me begin with what the program is. A home-based reinforcement program means that much of the intervention is carried out at home, but is based on the behaviors that the child is doing at school. In this program, there is a need to involve the teacher. In fact, usually it is the teacher who alerts you to a problem in the first place. Even if you strongly believe it is the teacher's job to control your child's behavior, I recommend not relying solely on the teacher. After all, teachers are extremely busy and have many children to monitor, many lessons to plan and grade, and in general are too stretched. Parents can take up most of the burden by executing a home-based reinforcement program, which draws on the teacher's special perspective but requires minimal effort on the teacher's part. Most often, teachers are very eager to help with a home-based reinforcement program because they very much appreciate your help with a school problem they see daily. So there are several ingredients that make up a home-based reinforcement program. First, it is important to identify and specify the behavior that is the problem. As I noted, the teacher probably initiated the concern about the child, so a conversation about this with the teacher will be welcomed. Here, one needs to consult with the teacher to discuss in precise terms what it is that the child does. A complaint that he teases other children is a little too vague. We want to know more about what specifically the child does, when and where. The details can help us in devising the intervention and deciding if we have improved the child's behavior. As usual, it is useful to write this focus down just to be sure you and the teacher agree that this encompasses the teacher's concern. If your child has several teachers and goes from room to room during the day, select one teacher and one class. Perhaps select the class where the problem is the greatest or with the teacher who's the most willing to help. If we can get control of behavior in one class, we can easily extend that throughout the day to other classes. That's not all that hard to do. Second, we now need a simple system that the teacher can use to measure the child's performance of that behavior. Essentially, we are going to ask the teacher to evaluate the child each day using a 3-point scale. Typically, we use a 3x5 index card to give to the teacher. Every day, we will want the teacher to circle or check off 0, 1, or 2 to let us know how the child performed that day. Then the child will bring this card home to the parent each day. There are alternatives to using a card, such as daily phone calls or text messages or emails. We find these do not work as well, as the card because the teacher or parent gets too busy after school and forgets to call or email. Even more importantly, the child does not get to see the immediate feedback of that card. So try to use the card system first and resort to other ways of getting the daily feedback if the card fails or just is not feasible. You and the teacher specify the 3 levels of behavior that essentially come down to 0, which is no change or the problem is still there. 1, your child has improved a little bit and is a little better than usual. And 2, the behavior is a lot better and the behavior was good, let's say, most of the time. For example, say the teacher wants your child to keep his hands to himself. The rating system would be as follows. 0 equals the child had a problem today in keeping his hands to himself. 1, the child kept his hands to himself some of the time and is a little better. And 2, the child kept his hands to himself most of the time and really showed an improvement. These cards are prepared by you ahead of time. The card and the 3-point system are designed to make the task very feasible for the teacher. In fact, we have used the procedure for many years, and most teachers eagerly participate because they know the parent is actively trying to help with a school problem, and the demand of a circle or a check each day is not that onerous. So let me summarize to this point. We have defined the behavior, and we have devised a simple assessment method that the teacher can complete. The third component is to devise a home-based reward program. Here I recommend a point program. The points are awarded daily for each school day based on the teacher's report. I've discussed the point program in a separate lesson, but here are some of the key ingredients. They vary just a little bit because we now involve the teacher. So first, specify the exact behavior that will earn the points. For this, we have the behavior based on the agreement between you and the teacher. Second, choose something to serve as points. They can be check marks, stars, smiley faces, anything convenient for you. Third, have a way to keep track of earnings and expenditures. There should be a chart or a calendar of some kind to keep track of earnings. Fourth, specify how many points are earned for the behaviors. Now for this, we rely on the 3x5 card and what the teacher circled or check off. This is the unique feature. As a guide, the teacher is providing 0, 1, or 2, and usually a 0 means the behavior was a problem. And so for that day, give 0 points. No points if the child gets a 0 on the card. Usually a 1 means that the behavior showed some small improvement. We definitely want points for that. Remember, we are shaping, and that's when programs fail because parents often demand perfection too early. So maybe give 1 point when the teacher provides a 1 for that day. Now, when the teacher marks a 2, it means that the child showed the desired behavior most of the time. So this is really good. And you might give 2 points, but you might bump up the scale to give a 3 or 4 points to give an extra incentive for trying to get a 2 on the index card. Also, you can find ways to add extra incentives if you wanted. For example, if the child earns a 2 on a given day, she gets X amount of points. But if she earns a 2 for 2 days in a row, you might want to add a bonus point. That rewards consistency in good behavior. I recommend just keeping it simple. Now we need a list of the rewards and how many points are required to buy them. Make a list of at least 4 or 5 rewards and make sure some of them can be bought with just a few points. We want the child to be able to save for a bigger reward, but not to have to save for an extended period of time. So if he can earn a maximum of, let's say, 10 or 15 points per week, have 1 or 2 rewards for 3 or 4 points, and another for 6 or 8, and maybe another one for 10 or 15 or 20. The key is making sure there's not a delay between earning and being able to buy something. Starting the program requires effort from you, the teacher, and your child if you use the card system. Usually, the child has no trouble taking the card to and from school on a daily basis. However, if this is a problem, or you think it will be a problem, then you can assign a point value to successfully bringing in and returning the card. And if the card system doesn't work, think of one of the other options, such as calling or texting or emailing with the teacher. You will find a system that works for you. The reason we recommend the card system is because this makes the feedback to the child very clear and immediate at the end of each day. Also, the child is involved in the program directly this way. If you and the teacher communicate without involving the child, that makes the program as something done to the child, not something done with the child. And that can actually influence the effectiveness of the program. With the home-based reinforcement program, it is useful to focus on just one behavior at a time. When that one behavior gets better, then the card can be changed to include some other behavior, or the program could be extended to another classroom. Here is how to respond to your child each day. So each day your child brings home the card, and this requires acknowledging the score beyond just giving out points. So let us consider 3 scenarios. First, let us say the child brings home the card with a score of 0. The teacher reports that your child still shows the problem and there was no improvement for that day at all. It is important that you be calm, do not lecture, and do not make the interaction aversive. So you say, "It was good that you brought the card home." Praise that. And now in a calm way, continue. "You did not earn points today, but you'll have another chance tomorrow." Or say, "I cannot give you points today, but I'm sure you'll have a better day tomorrow." Now, it is really important that you do not lecture, complain, or ask why he didn't do well. That will not help the program at all and make the child not even want to participate. Also, if the child begins to argue or whine about the rating, either walk away or begin another topic. Second, let us say the child brings home a card with a score of 1, which means that she did a little better than usual that day, even though not wonderful. You praise this and be specific. You say, "The teacher gave you a 1, which must mean that you were sitting at your desk most of the time, and that was very nicely done. Nice job," or some other form of praise. Please keep in mind we are shaping behavior. We always want to praise any sign of improvement. A major downfall of programs is that parents are expecting the best performance before a habit becomes stable. Praising mediocrity does not lead to mediocrity. In shaping, it leads to excellence. It's a step along the way. Finally, let us say that the card that she brings home includes a 2, and the good behavior was performed most of the time. Now you give very effusive special praise. You say, "Great!" And of course you say, "What was great?" You say, "The teacher thought you really did super today. That is amazing. Very nicely done." And then you do some nonverbal gesture like an affectionate touch or a high five. You gave praise when she brought home a 1, but now you take the praise up a notch in enthusiasm for bringing home a 2. And of course, you give the points after you do that. Let me summarize key points about the home-based reinforcement program. The program can be used for a variety of behaviors. The key is to work with the teacher to focus on one behavior at a time. Teachers usually are very helpful and eager to participate because you as a parent are attempting to make their lives easier at school. You might be surprised at how rare that is. Ideally, the teacher agrees to fill out the index card that you supply and your child brings in and will rate that card 0, 1, or 2. That is, the child's behavior did not improve, did improve, or improved a lot for that day. The corresponding point program should be clearly defined and establish attainable rewards that the child does not have to save up for too long. Remember, your reaction to the score is vital to the success of the program. If the score is low, be calm, do not lecture or ask questions of the child. If the card comes back with a 1 or a 2, be overjoyed and praise the positive behavior. We are shaping behavior, and we praise approximations toward the final goal. The home-based reinforcement program can be applied to almost any setting outside the home. For example, at day camps, at music lessons, or team sports events, as long as you have someone willing to complete the 3x5 card or some equivalent based on how well the child did that day. In any case, the home-based reinforcement program allows you to handle behaviors outside of the home with a set of behavior change tools such as shaping, praise, positive opposites, and reward programs.